everyone, Adam here, So Wizard Podcast. I have another review for you today. Once again, a big thanks to Amazon for sending us a look at their new series, This Summer I Turned Pretty. This is a teenage coming-of-age story written by Jenny Han, who also wrote the series and executive produces the series. So if you're into her writing, you know it's going to be true to the source. She also wrote To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which had very good success over on, I believe, Netflix. I don't really feel like I need to say this, but at the same time I want to get out in front of it. This series was never meant for me. There is no world in which this is something that I am dying to see. And that is not a knock on the acting, on the writing, on the series. It's just subject matter that for a guy in his mid-30s, I'm not the target audience. That being said, I wanted to go in this as objective as possible. I had not seen any of Jenny Han's other series. I had never read a Jenny Han book. So I wanted to go in and watch at least the pilot or the first couple as objective as possible. And while this wasn't for me, I do think there is something there for the target audience. It's a teenage love triangle. It's a coming-of-age story. It's this summer fantasy kind of story where they stay in this insane beach house, and it's kind of this own little world tucked away from the real world. It's all things that a teenager, I would say especially a teenage girl, would want to experience. I mean, I'm sure we'd all love to experience a multi-million-dollar beach house and 2 months of privacy and ultimate vacation time. The series takes place during the crux of the main character's life. The main character, nicknamed Belly, played by Lola Tung, and I have more to say about her after. It kind of hinges on this point where she's 15, almost 16 years old, and she's been vacationing with her mother and her mother's best friend, who has just boys, just sons. So they grew up kind of as summer siblings. They don't really spend the rest of the year together. I imagine there's some contact, I'm not really sure. But they've been doing this since they were little kids. And I think my favorite part about the show was they do a great job in about 2.5 minutes catching you up not only on the dynamics of the family and the dynamics of the kids more particularly, because that's where the bulk of the focus of the show is, but you kind of do get this nostalgia hit for those childhood summers being a thing of the past. Now she's a teenager where hormones and emotions are coming into it, not just for her, but also for the boys they were almost raised as siblings, even though now it's becoming more of a romantic kind of love or teetering on the edge of. There is some story focus on the parents. I didn't watch a ton of this series, once again, just to get out ahead of it, so maybe the moms each have more in-depth stories later on, but it seemed like they had a story just enough that they weren't cardboard cutouts of characters, but all the focus was on Belly. As I said, Belly is played by Lola Tung. This is Lola Tung's first main project. I'm pretty sure it's the only entry on her IMDb page. She's brand new to the world of acting, and huge props to her because she carries this show, and she does a good job. I believe the actress is pretty young. I think she's a few years older than the character in the show because it's easier to film with a kid over 18 than it is with a kid under 18 with labor laws and stuff. But she looks the part, she fits the part, she acts the part. And the acting across the board was pretty strong. You don't always get that with young performers. Sometimes it's a little bit hollow or wooden, and sometimes you have to kind of, yeah, okay, well, you know, they'll get there, they're working on their craft. But this felt like a solid show with a developed cast and developed characters. There was nothing wrong with it in the bit that I watched. There was nothing outstanding, there was nothing amazing, but that could just be my own bias that this show, the story, didn't really grab my interest. The rest of the cast is rounded out by Jackie Chung, Rachel Blanchard, Christopher Briney, Gavin Casalegno, Sean Kaufman, Alfredo Narciso, Minnie Mills, Colin Ferguson, and Tom Everett Scott. I didn't get super far in where I memorized all the characters' names. I apologize to the in-front-of-camera talent. I didn't think anyone really did a bad job. I was more interested in the story of the two mothers just because I'm closer in age to them than I am the kids. They have more career worries and more evolved relationship worries, where the kids are just kind of figuring it all out for the first time. I didn't get enough of that for my liking, but it might come later, and no one who made the show is hoping that I'm happy with it. I'm sure they'd be thrilled if I was, but that was definitely not the goal. So take all of the criticisms here with a grain of salt. I'm not even sure if that was a criticism. It's just a different thing. As far as the writing goes, I'm happy to see that Jenny Han, who wrote the books, not only wrote some of the episodes, but also is an executive producer. It drives me crazy when someone takes a source project of any kind that people love and they just make these arbitrary studio exec changes to it instead of delivering on what they want. Because you're not going to recapture the built-in audience you have, which is idiotic. You have people willing to throw down their money or give you their time already. Why do them a disservice? And the source material caught with these people for a certain reason, so your hopes of reaching new people are lessened because something that was kind of a tried and true product is nowhere to be seen. So happy to see that Jenny Han got to stay on board. I don't know what the behind-the-scenes negotiations were like. I imagine they saw the success she had over on Netflix. They wanted to replicate it. And this honestly probably would have been at home on Netflix. Not that it won't do good on Amazon Prime, but I think Netflix is definitely skewing for that younger audience. I, aside from Stranger Things, don't really use Netflix anymore because I feel like I'm really aged out of half the crap they're putting out now. I'm sorry, half the projects they're putting out now. It's not all crap. In addition to being happy to see Jenny Han getting to stay on her own project, the dialogue was that of a series based on a book. And if that's not clear to you what I mean, the dialogue never came across as real-world natural. It came across as very written and words picked over carefully and a little more clever than things need to be. And that works for me. I know for some people that doesn't work. For me, it works. If you're a Kevin Smith fan, if you're a Aaron Sorkin fan, that kind of talk either works for you or it doesn't. I mean, I think Aaron Sorkin's the best example here because he's really well known. And as far as I know, for me and my movie-loving friends, you either love it or you hate it. The way that everyone talks either works or it doesn't. The downside to it is everyone kind of sounds the same because all the voices are coming out of one writer. But the plus side to it is there's this cadence and this rhythm and this wit and this sharpness to the dialogue that if it works for you, it's kind of melodic and flows along. And that was something else that I noticed in this series that I did like, even though it wasn't quite as specific as, say, Sorkin, but it definitely sounds like novel-based dialogue when they're delivering it. Not really sure what else to say. I wanted to give you as much factual information and as much reaction from my distinct point of view on The Summer I Turned Pretty. If this is something that's up your alley, if you have teenage kids, if you are a teenager, or if you just like these kind of stories and you're okay with it being aimed at that target age, this does come out June 17th on Amazon. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 1 or 2 episodes up front and then a week-to-week thing after that. That seems to be Amazon's typical model. I think if this is written for you, there's something here. It didn't seem like an objectively bad show. If this doesn't really sound like it's kind of your thing, I would say it's not, because this is very much that thing. I didn't see anything that really broke the walls of the genre that would come out and be like, wow, I didn't expect that, but man, they nailed it. I think they created exactly what they wanted to, and they delivered exactly what a show called The Summer I Turned Pretty would be delivering. So you kind of have all the information you need. It's up to you to check it out or not. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe. We have a lot more Amazon series, a lot more movie reviews, interviews. I still have some unboxings to do. I'm going to have Galaxy's Edge coverage. I'm going to have Wizarding World and Harry Potter coverage coming your way. You're not going to want to miss out. Speaking of not wanting to miss out, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows, audio and video. We love hearing feedback, so drop us a note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a very good friend and I have an ongoing comedy comic series. It's called Social Studies. We got a ton of content out there already. We got a ton more coming. You can find all of our currently available issues at socialstudiescomic.com, all of our digital issues on Comixology, including Comixology Unlimited. We've been reaching out to physical stores, so if you're in the upstate New York area, there's a couple stores now carrying our stuff. We're also going to be at Plastic City Comic Con in Massachusetts, July 16th. Come and find us there. We can talk comics, you can read comics, you can buy comics, whatever you can do to support. We really appreciate it. Thanks.